Okay, guys, well, we're here at Intersolar 2023 in Munich. Jake and I are very, very lucky today to have the one and only Andy McCarthy, a legend of solar, and one of my best mates. So, mate, why don't we start by just telling us a little bit about your background, your history, right up to today.
Okay.
In about 3 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's a massive story, bullet points.
Elevator pitch. All right. Yeah, so my wife and I started a business called Gippsland Solar in the Latrobe Valley, 2010, heart of coal country. Everyone hated us, so it took a few years of hustle to create the social license to build our business. And over the next 10 years, we built it up to about 80 employees. Became one of the largest companies in Victoria, branched out into commercial solar about 2014, which became a significant part of our business. The pressure of growing a business really got to me and weighed me down a bit. I had some pretty serious challenges in my health and wellbeing in 2018, and made me realise that I didn't want to be the CEO of an expanding business like this forever. I was going to be the richest person in the graveyard. So, we structured the business up for sale, and 2019 we were fortunate enough to be acquired by RACV, which was just incredible. Everything we ever wanted, and they were a wonderful partner for us. The values were aligned. I stayed on for 3.5 years post-acquisition, and my contract and everything else finished up a week ago. So I said, it's been great, but I think it's time for someone else to take this business into the next phase, and really proud of what we've done, but it's time to go, and I'm taking a 6-month sabbatical now and travelling around Europe and the Middle East with my family, and I'm 7 days into a 4.5-month holiday.
And you're back at solar.
Yeah, back here already. Yeah, my sabbatical lasted 4 days.
Couldn't help yourself.
No, that's right. So I haven't seen my family for a week, so I owe them a few solids. So
yeah,
we can do some real family time now and repay them for the 13 years of sacrifice to help us to build this business up.
Yeah, mate, well done. How are you feeling? How's the head? How's the not since 4 o'clock this morning. I mean, just how's the clarity?
Well, I would have felt a lot better if I'd gone to bed when you did, Edward. But no, haven't been this happy in years. And I say that with the greatest of respect to RACV, because they treated us so well. They supported our people. They allowed us to build something that we never imagined we could ever create with Gippsland Solar. So while I'm eternally grateful, there's no doubt that the pressure of being in a corporate environment, and you've got the top-down pressure and the bottom-up pressure, and sometimes I did feel like I was in a bit of a vice. And so wearing those two hats, and my first role as a director on a board as well, it took a toll, and it was hard work. So I feel like we've done the hard yards, and now it's time to take a deep breath, and I'm so relaxed. It's brilliant.
You were pretty relaxed last night.
Yeah.
Andy, we're here to speak commercial solar today. Tell us about one of your favourite projects that you and the team at RACV deployed.
Oh, favourite projects. Well, I think 2017, we installed our first commercial system in 2014, which was about 100 metres from my house on the Grand Ridge Brewery, 100 kilowatt system. And it took us about 3.5 months to install.
Wow.
And it was a dog's breakfast. So, a lot of rectification work after. We didn't know what we're doing. Commercial solar, the vastness of doing a 100 kilowatt system back then, geez, we learned some lessons. But I think my favourite one was 2017 when a tender came out for Camberwell Grammar School, one of the largest private schools in Australia. They wanted to put on an epic system which was 9 times bigger than anything that we'd ever done.
Wow.
And I said to my team, what do you reckon? Like, no, we can't go for this job. First of all, we're not going to win it because the size of our competitors, they were huge. It was the biggest companies in the industry, and little old Gippsland Solar had no right to be at the table. But, I messaged the team on a Friday night. I said, guys, we're going for this job and we're going to win it. And we pulled out all the stops. We spent so much money on R&D and innovation into there. We did the first 3D drone modelling that had ever been done in the industry, I think, at the time.
I remember you showed me that.
That was cool. I remember that too.
Yeah.
And so all our competitors came in and said, we're really big. Look at the megawatts we've installed. And we just came in and said, look, we're a little business in Gippsland trying to spread its wings, and this job means more to us than it does to anyone else. And to show you, have a look at this full 3D model that we've built of the entire school, and we've overlaid the panels on the roof. We can show you all the sun moving across the sky and how it impacts on the shading. And you could hear the audible gasp in the boardroom as we pulled up this drone image. And then the guy that I brought in to do the tender goes, I've actually got the drone in the backpack. Do you want to have a look at it? I'm like, yeah.
So good.
So all these old suits from Camberwell Grammar just hunched around the drone. He was flying it up in the air. They were asking questions. And And they said we came out of the meeting and said, we want to use the Gippsland guys.
Wow.
So great
Yeah.
story.
So
Great story.
we didn't have the financial clout, the capability, anything to deliver this job. And like the amount of money we sunk into that, like our whole entire business for the first time ever in 2017 ran at a loss just because of that one job, because that was our beachhead strategy. Like, pick a job in a sector that we're really passionate about and throw out all the stops to deliver the first one well. And the customer's like, you're the most professional trades I've ever had. And then all the other private schools, when they went to tender for solar, can ring Campbell or Grammar and they would walk them around the roof and just give them a tour of the facility.
Of one of the biggest private schools in
Yeah.
Australia.
Yeah. And,
That's
and-
amazing.
And when
Yeah.
the customer's prepared to do that for you because they're so happy with what you've done, it's very powerful.
Great story.
So you've met so many business owners over the years, you know, selling them solar, talking to them, designing their systems. What do you think as a business owner, you know, if there's business owners out there watching this right now, what should they be looking for in a company to install their commercial solar system?
Well, I think obviously experience, you can't go wrong with experience. And it's hard because some of the biggest companies, in fact, the biggest commercial solar company in Australia went into receivership. And everyone just went, Jesus, okay, we'll use these guys because they were big and they felt secure. So it's hard. You know, it's hard, and there's a lot of companies that are trying to get in between and peel out a few percent of margin there to run procurement processes. Some of them are doing a really good job. So, you know, sometimes I think if you're not sure, going out to one of these procurement companies that can run some due diligence and keep these solar companies honest is really helpful.
Yeah, okay.
But ultimately, what I think a lot of commercial customers don't quite understand at the start of their journey is that this is a relationship. Like a large commercial system, it's an asset that needs to be maintained, it needs to be cared for. If a company's not talking about operation and maintenance contracts or performance guarantees or any of those elements of a long-term investment, there should be some warning signs here that this is a company that just wants to make the sale, and the customer service will probably drop when you pay your final bill.
100%.
Yeah, or maybe just when you pay the deposit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, so,
yeah.
you know, Jake and I have spoken about this before. You know, Jake said to me once, you know, that buying a solar system is a longer commitment than the average marriage in Australia, right?
It is. Yeah.
And
Hopefully not ours.
but the thing is that you're right. So talking about, you know, maintenance and what's gonna, you know, eventually something will need to be done, right? Eventually, whether it doesn't matter how good the system is, it might be 2 decades away.
Yeah.
Right? But something's gonna need to be fixed, replaced,
Cleaned.
Yep.
cleaned,
Absolutely.
you know, something, right? So
Yeah.
who are you gonna call? And I think
Yeah.
that is a really, really great point. What about, you know, battery storage, you know? So a lot of commercial, I find when I see people talking about commercial customers are like, oh, yeah, we'll think about the battery later. But more and more now are saying, look, let's talk about battery storage, right? So what experience did you end up having with battery storage?
Well, we actually ended up installing what was, I think, the largest solar and battery behind the meter in Australia at the time.
Awesome.
In your neck of the woods, Jake,
My neck
in
of the
Western
woods,
Sydney.
Yep.
On the
Narellan Town Centre.
Narellan Town Centre,
Yep.
the largest privately held shopping centre in Australia.
Awesome.
And so that was a 3 megawatt solar system with a 10 megawatt hour battery. We actually installed it for CEP Energy, who were actually the project financiers. They engaged us. Gee, we learned some lessons on that job. What we learned was there's some car parks that are valued at like $240 an hour. So if you want to use those for a day to lay down some gear, right next to the escalators there, they have a cost attributed to that car.
Really?
Yeah, because of the revenue they deliver. So, you know, so even just laying down things, set down areas, having to just weave in between the operation of the business was extremely difficult. But
Wow.
Why did they want such a big battery? What were they going to use it for?
well, this is in a particularly constrained part of the network where there's a lot of value from a battery. You know, I mean, the average commercial customer might think, well, I don't need a battery unless the power goes out. There's no other reason why you would install it, but there are a lot of reasons why you'd install it.
Yeah, okay.
Tell us some of those reasons.
Well, I mean, yeah, for those that aren't familiar, there's a whole value stack that can be unlocked, like frequency control. We call it FCAS revenues, where if there's pressure on the grid, demand's really high across the network. If a battery can jump in and supply that energy like really quickly within a fraction of a second, you know, quicker than an open cycle gas turbine or any other form of firming in the system, whoever can supply that energy first at that exact moment in time can make an absolute killing. you
Right,
know.
just for a few seconds.
Yeah, well, I mean, similar to what Tesla did with the big battery at Hornsdale in
Yeah.
South Australia.
Yeah.
I mean, that
Yeah.
thing paid for itself a lot quicker than they expected.
Yeah, already paid for, by the way. Yeah,
that's
yeah,
right,
yeah.
because there's market events and the battery can kick in within a fraction of a second.
Yep.
And they're picking up all of that revenue. So, you know, some of these batteries that are being out there, being installed at the moment, big batteries, $10 million facilities, they can make all of their revenue in 4 days
Yeah.
in summer.
4 days.
Yeah, yeah.
incredible.
Some of these things are making tens of thousands of dollars an hour from these batteries. So
Wow.
there's more to it than just storing your energy to, you know, solar energy to use at night
Yep.
Yeah.
and providing backup when the
Yep.
grid goes down. But,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
ultimately when the customer says to me, do I need a battery? I say, well, I don't know. I need to ask you these 5 questions.
Yeah.
Right,
It's
right.
not about trying to sell a battery to everyone.
Yeah.
And it's not about trying to talk them out of a battery
Yeah.
all the time as well.
Yeah. Andy, you've done a heap of commercial work and batteries, and I remember when you won that Narellan Town Centre job, and I thought, wow, that is insanely big. Tell us about commercial car charging. Did you do many car charging stations at all at RACV, and did you couple them with these type of systems? Were clients after that?
Yeah, I mean, you can imagine RACV with its motoring origins.
Yeah, yeah.
That this is a key area of focus for RACV.
Yeah.
And I plan to go back as an energy consultant a couple of days a week when I return to Australia later in the year, because I'm so passionate about organisations like RACV and where we can play a role. So we're talking about things like an EV vertical, whereby you might install solar on the roof of a building or a council, for example, and then you might put a solar car park structure in, like we're doing one for the CSIRO at the moment, and a few other like Homes Glen TAFE in Melbourne as well. Solar carports made up of solar panels on the roof, and then having EV charging on the pillars there, so your cars can park in under the shade from the solar panels.
Yeah, that's cool.
Charge up when they need to. The next step from there is that you can actually then supplement that with a battery, and then you could put software in whereby if you go to a council and they've got a fleet of 12 EVs, they all might all plug in at 5:05 in the afternoon, and you can just have software that ramps up and down so that the actual facility never draws more than, say, 100 kilowatts from the grid.
Yeah.
Because if you do plug all your EVs in at once, you might draw 400 kilowatts, and your demand charge, which is a large component of your bill, it can
be through the roof.
Massive. So
Yep.
it's all about understanding if you're installing a fleet of EVs, at this point in the day, all of these cars need to be full. How you charge them and how many different cars are charging at whatever time, that can be managed now with software, and the financial benefits of getting that package right is extremely appealing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, mate, look, I'm so happy that you spent time with us. I
Yeah,
love dealing
yeah.
with you, mate. Like
Yep.
I really, really do.
Yeah.
And look, what's your wrap up, Jake? Wrap us up.
Look, I'm obsessed with this word we've just been talking about, which Andy just spoke about without even knowing it, but HEMS,
Yeah.
home energy management. You're talking commercial energy management, but this is, we talk about when we're going to sit here at 2025, these things are going to be in the home. This managing your energy and doing it on a commercial scale, this is going to become micro in the home. So my takeaway is Andy's been doing this for years. This is where we're heading, Eddie. This is what we've got to drive into people's homes. But mate, it's been incredible to catch up. That's a wrap. That's Inner Solar 2023. You're looking better than you should, and so are you. And we'll leave it at that. Until next year. Hooroo.
Good to see you guys.
Thanks, Big Mac.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Brilliant.